Lord, I just want to pray for everybody in Trinidad and Tobago right now, Lord, because the government don't need the opposition support and they're going to extend this SOE and extend this curfew hours, Lord. So I just want to take a minute to pray for everybody who losing income and who home and frustrated because of this curfew and who family affected by it. I want to pray for everybody involved, Lord. And Lord, I also know that you see all and you know all, but Lord, I hope you didn't see that video yesterday, Lord, because the curfew affecting people and they're starting to make love in the streets, Lord, in Trinidad and Tobago. And I just want to pray for everybody involved, Lord. I want to pray for Andy, because you take care of all your children, and Andy have a lot of health, but not much strength. Andy have a lot of heat, but he don't have much sweet. He have some length, but he don't have any strength, Lord, and that is a curse. So I pray for Andy that he could get some help, because I really thought Andy was getting slapped. I thought it was a domestic violence situation, Lord, so I was glad it wasn't that. I didn't realize that Andy like the slap on them, Lord. I didn't know. But like I don't know if that is why he getting slapped, because it's, Andy lacking in some areas, Lord. And I pray for him and I hope that he could get some help, Lord. I pray for the lady involved as well, that she could find a pair of shoes and a place to rest her head at. Somewhere where you could get a proper night rest, Lord. It isn't right to be in a day like that, exposed in this kind of way. And I don't know why everybody needs to record everything, but I want to pray that the hands of the person who recorded remain steady, Lord. And I don't know how they get so much angles. So many different videos, Lord, but I want to pray for them, Lord. And I think, I feel the person get fed up because they're accustomed seeing Andy and the lady come there any night, but it's curfew, Lord, so they're going to extend this. Andy is going to do this again, Lord. I pray for him and I pray for them, Lord. It was a lot, and she really hit Andy hard, Lord, so I want to pray for Andy's face right now, that it could heal and send healing energy to Andy's face, Lord. And I want to pray for Andy's wife, because I didn't know Andy was married when I was watching the video. So when I found out Andy married, it wasn't funny no more. But it even worse, because Andy's wife name on Facebook is Nick Andy wife. She wouldn't be going through an easy time right now, Lord. She wouldn't be going through an easy time. This is very embarrassing. And I tell myself when Andy reach home, she might hit him some slap, but Andy like that, Lord. So I don't know how she's going to discipline Andy, but I hope they make it, and I pray for everybody involved, Lord. And I mean, Andy, I feel Andy and them used to go there any night, like, taxi, you go in night, and you what you thought was a dark space and secluded, but in the day, clearly everybody could see it, Lord. And I pray for Andy too, because Andy, you cannot work in the night. Why you wasn't working? You leave home in the day, you done have short hours to work to bring home money to mind your family, Lord. Why is Andy not working in the day? When the night hours locked down, Andy, you really should have been putting in your hours. Now you have a lot to answer for, Andy. But I mean, if it wasn't Arnold Roberts, I would advise you, Andy, to just say it was new. Yes. When in doubt, always check Sparrow. By day.
Maggie darling, sugar dumpling, don't get so mad. Please let me explain.
Tell Shandy. Nick darling, sugar dumpling, don't get so mad.
Please let me explain. I'm telling you the truth.
What is it?
If you see me with a woman, I don't want you to misunderstand. Whatever you might see me do, know my love is true. I'm not being unfaithful to you. The woman you catch me with in the bed,
yes,
really didn't have no place to rest your head.
Well, Andy, this don't apply to you, because clearly bed and thing, you've bypassed that, right?
Disappointed, suffering from shock. Only bring she home out to relax and cheer she up. You know how them things does go. I'm exhausted, she said to me. Sparrow are so tired and so sleepy.
Yes.
Casually she sat on the bed and asked me to massage her leg. That's all, that is all, that is all. Oh God, darling, that is all. Troublemakers,
yes,
will spread rumors for confusion. Oh no, don't take them on. You hear me? Just be trusting and don't dig nothing. Try and understand. I'll never do you no wrong, baby. Darling, you will never deceive. There is no need to disbelieve. Keep your trust and your faith in me, and I promise you there'll be no infidelity.
Where's it?
The woman you saw me with the other night.
Well, it wasn't night, so they not anniversary, right?
Yeah, she man, they just had a fight. And I find it was really looking so bad. The man kicked she clothes in the yard. She sit down there and start to cry like she going mad. Oh, Lord. The $2,000 I give to she.
And then she said,
was to buy a sandwich and a coffee. Not another thing happened. Me and this girl ain't nothing. That's all, that is all, that is all. Oh Lord, darling, that is all. Let nobody cause you to be jealous and confused. Don't mind them and the news. You hear me, baby?
hey, what happened now?
They want with the mash up so they could come and shock up. Girl, when you refuse, we'll be like two fools singing the blues. Singing the blues. I don't know why these women don't stop. Always trying to set me up. Trying to give you the impression something wrong with my darling, nothing ain't going on.
Only here and the verse, now here and the part.
The girl I was with behind the lamppost. Don't vex because I was holding she close. Well, she's a old thief from the east. Did somebody a ring she thief? I was only trying to hold she for the police.
Yes.
Just doing my civic duty. The reason my hand was in she bosom.
On your mouth.
I was feeling to see if she had a gun. She didn't have no gun by she chest. Is why I was searching under she dress. That's all, that is all, that is all. Oh,
Hey, welcome to episode, what episode we on, boy? This had to be 64, 65. Welcome to episode... Welcome to episode 60 something of the Curry Shepherd podcast, right? We're up in the 60s somewhere, about mid-60s, right? As usual, thank you for everybody for tuning in. Thank you for all the new listeners. Welcome on board if this is your first time listening, right? If it's your first time listening, don't take it too serious, right? Thanks for everybody who tuning in on all the podcast apps. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere else, TuneIn Radio, Audible and all that. And thanks for the people who are watching on YouTube. So the YouTube will keep improving, right? It will keep getting better. We're working on it. So all I know the story of the week, right? I mean, Andy had the story of the week, boy. I don't know what happened with that Andy's story. As a matter of fact, let me start with the serious part of the story first, right? Because the SOE caused this. Reading from the Express and article by Anna Ramdas. Don't exhale yet. Trinidad and Tobago state of emergency will be extended for another 3 months to November 2021. The move has already been met with objection from the opposition leader Kamda Prasad Bisesa, who's calling on the government to provide specific data for this extension. Parliament will be convened from its recess next Wednesday, that is the 25th of August, that is tomorrow if you listen to this Tuesday, to approve the motion approved by the Prime Minister. So by the time we come back together next week, we have an extended SOE. I did not expect this to be the case, to be honest, and maybe it's my own false expectations, because I tell myself, I mean, to be honest, I'm not paying enough attention to where the numbers are with COVID now to say I have some informed decision to make. I guess the reality is that the numbers ain't really changing that much. I find that strange though. We have a SOE and a lockdown for the longest while, and the numbers not really changing in any major positive way. Still hearing double-digit people passing away. So, of course, condolences to everybody who passed away, or the families of everybody who passed away during this time. And you're still seeing numbers up in the hundreds every day, and Delta variant to face. So, I guess it shouldn't be any surprise that the SOE getting extended, and we have an extended curfew. I saw it in several other places. We're not unique to this because Jamaica has been under curfew for a long, long time. Although they and all have issues with the curfew thing, because it seems as though in Jamaica, they have curfew. But because they're trying to keep tourism alive, some of the things being a little more lenient in the tourist districts in Montego Bay and Negril and Ocho Rios and so on. But I guess this is what we're facing. And if we're going into this for November, I don't see how it will change. And if it's a next extended SOE, we're going for what after November and we have a Christmas lockdown. Because I think one of the things that I feel was effective in this SOE, I don't like it, I have to be honest. I don't like the idea of the restriction, the thing. I mean, salute to my guy Zachary. Yesterday was my partner and my son Zachary birthday. So he is 1 year closer to taking a drink with your old father. 9 years old, he halfway there. And they had a little small lime yesterday. And I had to try now to hustle home after the lime because we had the lime by my mother. And you know, there's the state we in. We had to hustle home to reach home before 9 o'clock. I'd be uncomfortable driving between 8 and 9. Two people will be driving a little while. So that's the state we in. And one of the things I feel was effective is in curbing things like, well, except for people like Stacy, curbing things where they have too many gatherings for lime and them kind of thing. Because, I mean, to be honest, if on a normal, without a SOE, without any curfew or anything, that little line with them children would have run a long. I play cards with my father and then we're wrapping up now by 7 o'clock. We would have been definitely out till 9 normally and finish and now be on the road and heading out. So the restricting of the hours probably worked. And I guess worked, what I mean is that if we had 100 and something a day now, if it wasn't there, maybe it would be at 2-3 something, I'd assume that. And then where it's really effective for our culture in Trinidad and Tobago is the long weekend type lockdowns. So we heading into Independence weekend sometime soon. We had lockdowns for, I can't remember which holidays they had lockdown for. It had to be Labor Day and thing, right? Where they give us a more strict curfew now during the weekend hours. You remember that? I think more of that going to come over the next few months. I can't remember what holidays they have in September and thing. But I know Independence Day coming up. And then it's going to November. So I done starting to wonder already if November going to lead to some kind of Christmas lockdown. What do you think? You think we're going to get SOE all the way through Christmas? And I mean, you know, I asked that for selfish reasons, right? I want to know if you could make a little parang. Parang, 5 men could make a parang, you know. All I need is if I play guitar, if I play quattro, my father play a little guitar. A man by name of Nolly, a 2 bassmen I could pull in. Mark man like Ashton. I mean, 4 we alone went all over the place and jam and play music and enjoy yourself, you know. So that is a quorum. If we are 5, we could move with that. It's good, but I suppose it's not the best thing to do on the SOE continuing to be in place. So look out for more love in the streets. I mean, Andy clearly taking some chances. Andy taking some wild chances. Listen, I'm glad I grew up in the era I grew up in. You know? You see this constant surveillance where it's not just camera phone you have to study. It's people who have Ring camera on their house and Ring doorbell and everything. You're being recorded right through. So I don't know what Andy going home and say, but it was not good look at all. I mean, in the end, not more the woman, you know. Me know if the woman married too. I can't understand the hard slapstick. I want all you. I know all you enjoy watching that video, but I just want you to go back to the beginning of the first video and watch how hard that woman hit Andy. That woman hit Andy hard, you know. But that was the first one I see, and when I see Andy's face start to change, I say, oh Lord, it's one of them videos. Because I see one going around in a stadium in the States with a white lady and a black fella, and that white one, it looked like the 2 men was arguing. The white lady, boyfriend or husband or whatsoever, and the black fella, kind of rasta fella arguing in a stadium, look like a baseball game or something. And within the argument, that white woman hit that man a very hard slap. And boy, he registered one on the woman now. And then, well, the woman husband, I don't know why he didn't get involved one time, to be honest with you. Because if I go somewhere and Stacy from the Pelter too, so I might not get involved, right? But if Stacy goes somewhere and she's squaring up and wants to fight, I'm going to pick up Stacy and physically move her from there. Because you see me, I'm not fighting nobody. I'm not going to no confrontation with nobody. I mean, we in Trinidad and Tobago, we had to talk about how much people shoot themselves in the foot over the last 2 weeks. Everybody a gun here. You doesn't know who is MMA fighter, who know Krav Maga, who know Taekwondo, who know Karate. You don't know these things. So I don't go nowhere and fight. I don't want no problems with nobody. So I would have pick up Stacy and move with her. I'm going away. I'm running from any kind of fight or confrontation. But this man, while his wife arguing with the man, he sit down there all the time. When your wife slap the man now and the man register one on your wife now, you get up to square up with the man. Well, boy, that man put a man to sleep. I don't know if you see that video, but that man put that lady to sleep. He went, I mean, that fella put the fella, he put the woman husband to sleep. That man take a quick nap in the midst of the fight, but he get back up, eh? But, I mean, even after you get back up, you don't feel what it's like to drop asleep and you didn't pick up your wife and get out of there. But it was that kind of slap where Andy girlfriend hit him. She hits him hard and I see Andy face change. Me and his love Andy face change with romance and love. And boy, Andy pouty tongue. heavy kissing. The sun is hot. I don't know who is making all this hot sun love in these times. I don't know. But again, prayers for Andy and everybody involved. I hope everybody turned out good. But we in this state. We're going into this SOE. It's gonna be longer. We had to get what we had to get done in the daylight hours. So salute to Andy for being innovative and making sure that the daylight hours are maximizing daylight hours. That's the way you had to go, you know what I mean? And coming closer to Christmas, the places get dark fast. So I don't know if Andy, I don't know how much time he have left. But Nick will see about it, man. Nick accustomed dealing with Andy, so who knows? Everybody must be one big happy family. What else happened this week? Schools. Let me talk about that, right? I am seeing now where, so at first Pfizer came in and I see very long lines going in for Pfizer vaccines. People, I was wondering how that would go on the last podcast, but clearly a lot of people seem to be very happy about getting their children vaccinated. I suppose the fact that Pfizer was the preferred brand in Trinidad, it seemed like that's what everybody had wanted anyway, and you're getting that for your children. The way I've seen it is like it's saving some people a trip. At one point, I myself was considering traveling to get one of the preferred vaccines. So I guess you're getting some of the preferred vaccines here, and it's saving you a trip from having to go up the road to say you're going to try to get Pfizer. And when you go there now, you had to wonder, because if you travel and go up, and then the borders close again, you're gonna end up like one of them people who complaining and crying to the government all the time about your inability to come back in the country and the government not letting citizens come back. You remember that time when it was last year around March, where borders close and you get stuck outside? So I guess people go in for the Pfizer based on that, and that was a good sign, but it seems to be like it's still not enough because the ministry is starting to pull back now, and I'm hearing the ministry saying that they're no longer looking to open schools in August. I had to get that a clap because that is for me. I think they do that for me personally, and I appreciate it. But I mean, I want to be serious about it from the standpoint of people who not in a position to keep their children home. I mean, it's easy and preferable for me to keep my son home to continue to go through school. But I understand that all home circumstances are not the same, and the need for devices. And, from a work standpoint, there's always something I struggle to keep up with. Because no matter how you turn, every time you turn, somebody in our office need a new computer. People have their computer and they think it get outdated, it gets slow, memory gone, things happen, someone fall, and you have to think that it's the same thing with children and the devices. After they use those devices for a full year plus of online school now, who had things safe, who get virus. So we starting to run into the period now where man looking for a replacement device. It was done so hard for a lot of people to get devices in the first place. Now we're starting to look at replacement devices. So I'm cognizant of that, right? And I keep that in mind. So I'm looking to see what the government is how they're going to handle this situation where it seems as though the children will be home come all the way through till December. I welcome it, but I know that the circumstances are not the same for everybody. So from The Guardian by Renuka Singh and Akash Samaru. Minister of Education Nayan Gadsby Dolly yesterday said that virtual classes will continue when the new school term starts on September the 6th, while the ministry and government look at how many students received vaccines. We will look closely at the vaccination program over the next few days as we determine who can be brought back physically, but our students should start school virtually come September 6th. So it being put forward in a way as though they're starting back on the 6th and then they will assess it during the course of the term. I think we all know how that goes. They're not going to open school back physically during the middle of a term. I think the same thing will happen as well was happening before, where some students will have to go in if you're doing labs and those types of things. And that's about it. The rest of the student population probably going to stay at home for another term. So it works for me. It doesn't work for all. And I'm sure they had to put some more measures in place to ensure that people could survive another term with the children home. And all they fed up with children being home too. A lot of people is telling me, always saying school ain't opening back. And some people can't wait for school to open back to send the children back out. But that ain't happening before January based on what we're seeing here. And also, I find that every time I read these articles, I try to see if they're making any distinction between primary school and secondary school children. I find there's a distinction that they should start to make one time from the ministry standpoint. There's no real need from where I sit or where I see to make sure that all schools open back at the same time. You could treat daycare, kindergarten, primary school, secondary school, and tertiary education. You could treat those things very, very differently. Let me deal with tertiary first. Tertiary, you have a choice as to whether you're going to take the vaccine or not, right? You making that decision for yourself. So the tertiary institution still closed from what I understand. And I'm not sure what they're looking at in terms of their metrics for reopening, whether it's people who vaccinated or they're going to continue virtual classes for as long as they go along. Like my sister was supposed to go to Barbados to start, well, she in year 2 in law in Hewooden, but she never see Hewooden yet. She didn't go Barbados at all. The first year was completely online. This new semester that she's going into was supposed to start in person, but then Barbados pulled that back. Not Hewooden, she going, it's Caville. She was supposed to go and start that this year. And Caville, or the Barbados campus, they decided that they're going one more semester with, or doing this year virtually. So that might mean until next year, September, that she gets to see the school. So with tertiary, I think it's a much different decision where tertiary concerned. And when you look at secondary, I was assuming that parents had to give some kind of consent for children to go and get vaccinated, right? By children, I'm talking about under 18. And it seemed as though all the children who went with vaccines went with their parents. I wasn't seeing anybody in line, like some children, like a group come by themselves to go and get a vaccine. So if they make an assessment as to who in secondary school vaccinated, but also make the assessment based on who need to be there, I think the biggest mistake we could possibly make post-COVID, if there's such a thing, is to dash away all the virtual things that we do and we learn to do and we start doing and start back doing everything physical only. Regardless of what the situation is, you had to come in the government office or you had to go in school and stuff. I hope that we go forward with the option remaining in place. And for primary school children, I'm not sure what the plan is at all. They had initially said that the vaccines were more for secondary school children. I'm not sure if we at the point now where we're saying young children had to be vaccinated. They were still at the point where they were saying under a certain age, it don't make sense taking the vaccine or it's not safe or it's not proven as safe. So we could treat each one of those areas differently. And that will also help keep some people at home. If circulation of people and more people in the environment is a problem for the spread of COVID, then we should be looking at what's the minimum amount of people we need to send back to school rather than getting schools reopened fully. But a partner of mine was making a good point to me the other day as well, right? That the economy is so dependent on schools being open because if you look at from the little shops and so on around the schools, and you have a good point, all the little shops, the schools have a kind of ecosystem on its own. And then, of course, it causes parents to be on the road, daycares and so on, start to make money. The money start back to flow. But we had to balance it out, I think, between now and December in terms of what, something like Rolling now, we had to balance out how we reopen lives and livelihood. I guess we're still at that point. Who would have thought we'd have still be at this point in August 2021 or even November 2021? But we'll keep monitoring it and see how it goes. So at least we know for now, SOE getting extended and schools closed. It look like till December we're looking at virtual school. All right, the final thing on vaccines. Johnson & Johnson is here, and it's a one shot, a one dose. How much are they running for Johnson & Johnson? What is the situation? Because we getting vaccine, we getting big brand name and things. No, before we had all kind of Batter Bullet and Spoiler and all these kind of things, but now we having Nike and we having Adidas and things in the country. So all was waiting for big brand names. If a lot of the vaccine hesitancy was about the brand of vaccine we get, we can't. The only thing we don't have now is Moderna, right? And I'm not sure if we're getting that or not. But they have Pfizer. Well, at least Pfizer for the children, as I say. But now Johnson & Johnson, and they didn't say that was for children, they said that's for everybody. So, funny enough, they say prisoners on the list for Johnson & Johnson. I suppose because they don't want the people who are administering the vaccines, I had to go back to vaccinate no prisoner. I'm not sure why they choose prisoners. I don't know if the one dose thing have anything to do with prisoners, but I'd assume that is a safety and security reason. So it's one shot, Johnson & Johnson. It's here, and they say prisoners for sure, but it looked like that would be a mark for the public as well. And one question I have is that if I go in the savannah, let me say by the vaccination site now, when I went, they only had Sinopharm, right? I went before they had get back AstraZeneca and stuff. Now that they have Sinopharm, they have AstraZeneca, and they have Johnson & Johnson available to the public. Can somebody go to the vaccination site and say which one they want? I'm wondering. And or is it that the one dose is held for certain people, or you take what you get when you reach there, or you get a doctor recommendation and you come? Nothing clear being said on that either. But at least you know the Johnson & Johnson is here. I was waiting for that for a long time. You know? They had say 800,000. I thought that would be here before everything else. But good news is that it's here now, and people hopefully have some options as to which vaccine they're going to take. But I mean, we're talking one shot, right? And I'd get into this gun problem that Trinidad have, because clearly one shot is not enough for most of us in this country, you know what I mean? I talk about the boss Pulchan, the head of prisons really, who slipped and fell and literally shot himself in the foot last week. And now we are three different people having this same issue. So it's Pulchan, and then I see in here by Yvonne Webb in The Guardian. This is in the 18th of August, right after the podcast came out last week. President of the Pharmacy Board, Andrew Rahman, is recovering from a gunshot wound to his right leg. I want you to listen good to this if you didn't hear this story, right? Sinclair police are investigating a report that Rahman accidentally shot himself on Tuesday night while trying to secure one of his guns, right? Reports said around 7:45 p.m. on Tuesday, Rahman of Diamond Vale, Diego Martin, had just finished exercising around the Queen's Park Savannah. So I don't know if you remember a long time when he used to play gun shooting, he used to play gun and sack. I don't know if that is the kind of exercise he was doing, but for people who's exercise much more than me, all they tell me what's be happening all the exercise, right? And how unsafe is the Savannah really? But he said as he got into his car, parked opposite the Queen's Royal College, he tried to adjust one of his two licensed guns, which was holstered and tucked on the right side of his pants waist. I don't know if that means he was running around the savannah with a gun in his waist. You see why you don't go slapping people, unless it's Andy and so on, of course, and people give consents to slaps, because who know like I'll slap every now and again. But this is why you don't go fighting people, because if you watch the picture of this man, he head of the pharmacy board, I'm lying to you. See, when I watch a picture in the papers, if me and he square up, I feel I could take him. But you see how I end up like a strainer full of holes, because this man is running around the savannah with his gun. Now, I am not the best example of anybody when it comes to exercise, right? But I don't know how you feel about this. If and when I run around the savannah or run anywhere, I don't even like to have my car keys in my hand. I just be struggling to fight. Sometimes I wish I could just leave my key under my seat, like what is doing Tobago when you're in a car. I wish I could just do that and run, because I don't like nothing in my pocket. I don't want nothing in my hand. I don't overweight already, so I don't want no extra weight to carry around. I don't know how heavy a gun is, but I find his song like it heavy, to be honest. And this man have it loaded, and according to Gary Griffith, that means it loaded and he have one in the chamber. What people expecting to go down? People know something in this country that I don't know. Because we hear last week about a pleasure craft completely like armed. It's like it was like a pirate ship with legal guns, of course. But now we hear of a man who again have more than one firearm. It seems to be that people who have a firearm need more than one firearm. It's okay, corral. So Rahman could not be interviewed at the time, but is reportedly resting in a stable condition. Police also take possession of 2 Smith & Wesson pistols. They also take 69 rounds of 9mm ammunition. Now, 69 rounds to me mean you could shoot 69 times. If something in front of you, you could shoot it 69 times. I try to understand from gun owners, because from many podcasts ago. I can't even remember what was the topic I was talking about, but I get to find out that a good few people who are listening to this podcast is FUL holders and people who have their own firearms and so on. So people need to give me some feedback, number one, as to why you need 69 rounds of ammunition. Because I'm starting to do a little research now, because when you look at a pistol, right, a handgun, everything I seen online saying a handgun might have 15 to 18 rounds in a magazine, right? I struggling to figure out what scenario you could find yourself in. Like, what are you planning for? The coup? The 27 gun? I struggling to figure out a scenario where you could have a threat or some kind of issue you're facing, and you need to shoot more than 15 times. I mean, it just sounds far-fetched to me. I might be absolutely wrong about this. I'm telling you, from my perspective, I don't see where, even when you hear, think of areas, if you grew up in certain areas or if you're living in certain areas and you hear a shootout, between the 2-3 people you hear and shootout with, sometimes you don't even hear 15, 16 shots, 18. So if you're walking with 69, what I mean? That means you're walking with extra magazines, and all the extra magazines you're walking with loaded too. And if that is the case, you have 2 guns, so you have 2 sets of magazines. It's like, what going on with you? Do you trying to? I mean, it's a weight bags and thing. If it's weight, you're trying to run around the ankle, run around Savannah with that weight, so your ankle and them kind of thing that you could put. It's how a man is walk around with 2 bottles of water around the Savannah. There are other things that we could do. But the police took possession of his firearm and all this ammunition. And the car was towed to the thing. I guess you can't drive at that point in time. And well, I guess the one spent shell is the one that ended up in the man's foot. And it's really, I mean, I laughing and think, but it's sad. I mean, I don't want nobody to shoot themselves in the foot. And the reality is that anybody who have a firearm, and it's something that I myself starting to consider more and more, I'm being honest. Because a friend of mine, who's a friend of the family now, is a firearm holder. And he encourages me all the time. He's like, boy, listen, you have your family, you have a young son. Anything could happen. You don't want to be in a position where you get a house breaking and you have nothing to defend yourself. That is something that I give in serious consideration now. Because you see around the Savannah and thing, I'm not the fastest runner it have. But anytime I'm not home or I'm not around my family and it's a confrontation, I'm going to pick up my wife and my child and run. I get out of it. I'm not dealing with no confrontation with nobody nowhere. But every time he make that statement about a house breaking, it's getting me just a little more scared. I putting all the things in place in terms of protection and making my family safe, right? And I'm doing more and more. They say make your place the most secure place on the block. I tried my best to do that and take all precaution, but I don't know how you all feeling about this. A lot of people here is family people, and you have your home and your children, or plenty all your daughters and things. Trinidad is a place where when men break in your house, they ain't coming to take what you have and they just go, They come in to scar you for life. It's like, you lucky if you end up alive, even if you tell them go with everything. Man, I want to witness the out in your light. Then on top of that, man, they can rape your wife and rape your daughter. Listen, scar you for life. So I don't know what the sentiment is out there for people who might be young professionals who have their household to protect and them kind of thing. But I still struggling to see this scenario where I had to run around the Savannah with 2 guns. I always used to be worried about the US when they talk about this. Because I find the US is a place, especially when you're going in South, where the philosophy is that they need to protect what is called the Fifth Amendment, or whatever is the First Amendment, whatever is the right to bear arms. They always talk about protecting that. And so many people have guns. Or you look at places like Texas, places like Georgia, you have to assume the average person who you see and have a firearm. And firearms, like what we're talking about here, have multiple firearms who have it carry on the person. I remember reading an article about Texas the other day where they say, hey, monk for no license again, just go and buy a gun in Walmart and enjoy yourself. And then people have rifles and them kind of thing for hunting. It had 2 philosophies. One where if you know everybody have a gun, the place gonna be safe because people not gonna get into minor altercations if they know the other person have a firearm. And then they have another theory where it's just a western town where man shooting regardless of what man shooting first and asking questions after. So I mean, to add to that now, so Pulchan shoots himself. Pharmacy man shoots himself. I know pharmacy man. Now he's saying a 41-year-old businessman had to be hospitalized after he sustained an injury to his right leg while at the MH Tactical Training Range in Chaguanas. The range is owned by former head of the Special Operations and Response Team, Mark Hernandez. Maybe, Lord, I should pray for Mark Hernandez too, because I hear some voice note going around with Mark Hernandez and Eve George, and I don't know if they was making love in the streets too, but they was clearly making a little love and thing. It didn't sound good. But let me stay away from these people. I don't like to talk about them too much, and I'd be frightened. Police said around 10 a.m. on Sunday, Riyad Hussein was at the range at Mount St. Catherine doing target practice with a Glock 9mm pistol. He was 9 feet away aiming at a metal target called the Christmas tree. He told police that he fired one round hitting the metal plates when he immediately felt a burning sensation to his upper right calf and discovered it bleeding. He immediately lodged his firearm with the instructor and was rushed to West Shore Medical Hospital. That's another thing I'm not understanding. If you have a licensed firearm and you make a mistake and shoot yourself in your foot, do they take away a firearm from you? Because every time I read one of these articles, they're saying that the police took possession of the firearm. They said the same thing with Pulcha and they said the same thing with the pharmacy guy. What was the situation then? I'm not sure if they take away a license and that kind of thing, but Stephen Williams seemed to be... So we get into different schools of thought on this, right? Gary Griffith basically saying, here, what's going on? Everybody had their guns. What we need is more training and them kind of thing. And you had to give people the means to protect themselves and so on. So Gary Griffith, coming from the Newsday, written by Darren Bahau. He says all legal firearm owners will soon have to take mandatory retraining courses to prevent the negligent discharge of their weapons, says Acting Commissioner of Police Gary Griffith. I had to ask the question, right? How come 2-3 people had to shoot themselves in their foot before this is mandatory? We do things in a strange kind of way here, you know? Like, why do firearm license holders need to renew the license? Like, for a vehicle owner, right? You have to renew your license every either 5 or 10 years. Now, I find that process a little too loose too, because during 5 to 10 years, over the next 5 years, I could my eyesight getting worse by the day. Your mental health could be going through it. You're going, you know what I mean? You went through some things like Andy wife and you have mental health problems or so. You physically could be harmed, and you know, you have all kind of issues that could lead to your inability to drive or impaired judgment on the road. But we go through a very simple process of just renewing our photo, making a payment, and getting your license renewed. I mean, that and all could be digital, right? I don't understand for the life of me why, if they don't ask me nothing else, why I have to go in licensing office to renew my license. Why they don't just let me do that online? I can take my own picture and upload and anything. But anyway, the process to renew your license is very simple, and a car could be as deadly a weapon as anything else, actually. A car could be deadly. So you're in a situation where there's a sort of, call it an automatic renewal of your license until you reach a certain age, must be 65 or 70, when you have to go back and do an eye test, I think it is. And once you could see, so the assumption is that your eyes only deteriorate when you reach quite 70. I don't know if that makes sense at all. And I do feel as though every time you renew your license, there should be some form of testing that people go through just to make sure that you're okay. Whether it's psychiatric testing, your eye test, maybe a little driving test. You remember the driving test you used to do when you do a L turn and a this turn and a that turn? I don't know if an experienced driver who driving for 5 years need that, but maybe there are tests that they could do to help protect us and keep us safe on the nation's roads, right? Some people clearly need to do over regs and these things, right? And a car, a vehicle, generally speaking, people will use a vehicle and only come into danger when it's an accident. And it seems to be the same thing with a firearm, right? Because, I mean, in fairness, it's sounding like plenty because it's 2 or 3 over the course of 2 weeks. But you don't hear very often somebody had an accidental discharge or a situation like what we talked about with Wayne Monroe the other day where something happened with he and his wife and he just bust a shot in his own house and, well, he had to face charges for that. You don't hear these things too often, right? So I have to assume, like vehicles, most firearm owners are responsible people who take care of their firearms and so on. I just find that the idea of training people on a regular basis or make it mandatory, it should be in place from the beginning. So my understanding is this, right? When you go in for a firearm, number one, your wife had to sign something saying that you could get a firearm. Number two, you had to do a physical evaluation. You had to do a mental evaluation. You had to go through a process of checking to see if you have charges and stuff for the station. So you usually had to give fingerprints and all that so that the police clear that you are able to have a firearm. I believe that the police also send somebody to check your premises and so on and do background checks and all that, right? I suppose those are the steps to take to get a firearm. And Gary Griffith seemed to be comfortable with this because since he come in power, a lot more guns have been handed out. I've seen people saying that it have a 15,000 you could spend and pay and get your license fast. And I also seen a lot of suggestions that FUL is a bargaining chip for the commissioner and the squad or whoever is issuing firearms. Because when you heard stories about Bad Wolf or you hear stories about Fenwick, or I don't know if you're following this story with Eve George and Mark Hernandez and that whole story that going around and a set of voice notes. I think it's Trinbago News is the Instagram page. I was playing a whole set of voice notes and stuff of it. All of them seem to suggest that the ability to get a firearm license is something that people use to get deals and to get favors. So the police and thing, you do the police a favor and thing, we go expedite and we will push through your license for you. That's something like a common thread. That's something like what is done. And even when you see some of the things that the journalists asking of police officers, it seems to be that is a bargaining chip. But Guy Griffith feels like people need some ability to defend themselves. And so let me read what Guy Griffith's saying, right? Beyond having to take mandatory tests and retraining, which I welcome, I think that is what should be done. And I also feel like not just mandatory retraining. If you say you're doing mandatory retraining every year, or a licensed firearm holder must go on the range every 6 months, every 2 months. I don't know enough about it to say what the period should be, but I find it should make them go and do target practice, because I don't want nobody any pharmacy man fall out and I running around the savannah behind you and I slow. And he missed the man he tried to shoot now because the coconut vendor gave short change and he started back into the coconut vendor. And I started to pick up in the back. So all you go on the range, please, when all have all your firearm, monthly or whatever the time is. I also feel like they should, so he said training about, training to avoid negligent discharge. I suppose that means how to holster your gun, how to take out your thing, how to clean your weapon, all those different types of things. We have a very much, from the firearm owners that I know and people who I see with firearm and thing, I find we have a culture, a gun in your waist kind of thing. You just push it in your waist, in your pants, and you're good to go. Can we put mandatory holstering and so on, so that you just have a gun butt showing out your jersey when man think to frighten people? But anyway, beyond what the mandatory training, Gary Griffith said in a statement Friday, his comments were in reference to the recent spate of incidents with firearm holders, including prison officer Dennis Pulchan and the president of the pharmacy board, Andrew Rahman, have accidentally shot themselves. The retraining, he said, is aimed at seeking to minimize the possibility of negligent discharge and weapons being stolen. Wait, hold on. I didn't see no story about weapons getting stolen, but all your weapons getting stolen, because if you have a gun and somebody steal your gun, you should never be able to have a gun again. Get yourself a little puya, get a cutlass and hope for the best. Griffith said in recent times, there have been a series of reports of firearm holders. I'm trying to get to the part of this where he was saying his support for the idea of firearms. Under Griffith's 3-year tenure as the Commissioner of Police, the process of obtaining guns was revamped. He said 5,000 licenses were approved. That's 5,000. So I want you to multiply 5,000 by 69 rounds from and see what happened in this country. And we're talking illegal guns, and we're talking legal. Each firearm holder can apply for multiple weapons, and Griffith told Sunday Newsday he had approved over 100 licenses for civilians to buy semi-automatic assault rifles, which carry 5.56 and 7.62 rounds of ammunition. Such weapons are primarily used by the military and tactical units of the police. In the past, approximately 400 weapons have been issued annually by other commissioners of police. Griffith said there are currently 50,000 applicants. So he approved 5,000, but 50,000 waiting. Where's 50,000 by 69? Under Griffith's tenure, the number of gun dealers and shooting ranges approved by him have also exponentially increased. So it's not just more people getting guns. More people have options as to where they could buy guns and gun accessories, and more places that they could practice. But stakeholders in the national security arena have raised concerns about the types of weapons in the hands of civilians and questioned whether there have been any possible breaches of the Firearms Act, which prohibits a civilian from owning a weapon designed so that it can become an automatic gun. Again, automatic versus licensed gun. I only talk more automatic versus manual. You know what it's called a regular gun. But we're watching from the movie, that automatic gun to me is and a manual gun is po, right? That's the best I can describe it. What you need an automatic gun for if you're protecting your house? So you just go and spray up the whole place. If a man break in my house, again, I want to be able to, eliminate that threat, because I heard the gun people and things talk, but I don't even know if I could live with eliminating that threat. I'm being honest, because if a man come in my house and I shoot and I kill that man, I had to sleep that night like normal, knowing that man is a father or whatsoever. I know myself well enough. That mightn't bother you, but that will bother me. And I'll also, like I tell Stacey all the time when we're talking about this, I had to live with the fact that a man get killed in my house and think blood on the wall, like in what do you used to call him, man, in thing where you say he paints in houses. What was that movie again with Robert De Niro and them? I can't remember the name of the show, but he said he paints in houses. Imagine you paint your house now with a man blood. That might be too much for me. But even with that said, let's say you're comfortable with that and you could eliminate a threat, and you making sure you waiting for a man to come in your house so you could eliminate the threat, right? You need an automatic weapon. So you're just going, come on. But going back to the article, Griffith told Newsday that automatic weapons have only been issued to people who engage in the sport of target shooting. Again, I don't know enough, but if you're doing target shooting as a sport, automatic weapons is a necessary part of target shooting. And also, again, if you're going back to training people on a regular basis, hopefully more mental and psychiatric evaluation for people who have guns. So if you have to go on the range a certain amount of times, you have to go to training for negligent discharge a specific amount of times, or else you lose any FUL. And also, every now and again, bring something from a psychiatrist saying that you're still mentally together and you're okay and you're physically good. And rather than just doing that in the beginning and never doing it again. You know what, too? Given the way people getting slapped in these streets and things, maybe every now and again, let me say every 2 years, you have to bring back something from you married, your wife gave something saying you can get FUL. If you divorce that woman and you marry the next woman, like Wayne Monroe, she getting to sign off saying she comfortable with you having a gun too? Or it's just your first wife had to sign off? Or you and your wife done, you have a girlfriend. Or in Trinidad, you have your little side woman who you going and sleep by and thing. She getting to sign off to say she okay with you having a gun, or is only your first wife had to sign off? Just questions I asking. But added to that, I find like if I grant you a weapon, if I grant you a license to do sport shooting and I give you an automatic license because of that, come back every year and prove to me that you do sport shooting. Let me see where you sport shooting and what sport it have, and if you're in the Olympics or if you're entering something, I want to know what you're doing. Because though you say you're doing sport, you do like my son joined football a day. After the second day, he say he never going back. So you could have an automatic weapon, do the sport once, never go back again, and then 3-4 years down the road, me and you fall out, or you owing me money and me and you get away, and then it's you gonna spray up the whole place like if it's a Nerf gun you shooting, and all people who behind me now, them picking up because you ain't know how to shoot and you don't know how to control your weapon. You never had it for no sport in the first place. So I want to read what Stephen Williams saying, because I tend to agree with Stephen Williams. I never thought the day would have come. But reading from the Express by Denise Wren. Williams, and I want to be clear, right? Denise Wren, Denise Ren is clearly, every article she read, she's not happy with the commissioner of police. Let me put it that way, right? I'm not saying if that's a good or a bad thing. I just want to be clear that most of the times I read articles about Denise Ren, it is opposed to the stance of the commissioner. Not surprising that this one is the same, but I agree with this one. Individuals being permitted to legally own more than 3 firearms is raw craziness, says former police commissioner Stephen Williams. Such an allocation is considered illogical and unreasonable, and furthermore, no commissioner of police can justify approving in excess of 3 firearms to an individual, he said in an interview with the Sunday Express last Friday. When asked to comment on the apparent ease with which several firearm user licenses have been holders have in excess of 5. Well, I was thinking 2. But if people wait, no, hold on. This I agree with Stephen Williams 100% here, and you know what I mean. What a man need 5 firearms for yourself, or is it that to your household? If you have 5 people, you could have 5 firearms. Like they make a law saying you could grow ganja 3, and you could grow 4 for every adult. But ganja just calm you down. I find like guns. I don't know. Williams said, for me, having served as commissioner of police, you know, it's hard for me to read this article without hearing it in Stephen Williams' slow drawl voice in my head. But anyway, Williams said, for me, having served in the police service and sat in the office of police commissioner, the worst thing I could have become aware of is people having 3 and 4 firearms. As an individual in an environment where you are trying to restrict the presence of firearms in the country, it is illogical, it is unreasonable, and it clearly cannot be justified by any commissioner. That is raw craziness. How someone can handle 4 weapons as an individual. This will lead to additional problems. I agree. The Sunday Express has been investigating the granting of FULs and the identifying of typical firearms such as semi-automatic ones, which are now in the hands of citizens, as well as the seemingly overnight practice of individuals registering businesses to become firearm dealers, a process that usually takes some time. Recent news reports have revealed that weapons used by the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service and the Defense Force, which are considered prohibited under the Firearms Act for individuals, are now in the hands of people who are not properly trained to handle them. In several instances, 5.56 caliber assault rifles were easily granted based under the category of sported. Now again, I just want you to take a minute and Google 5.56 caliber assault rifle and look at what you're seeing. And just imagine having to bounce up. You know, you're going to buy a little, you're going to buy some ibuprofen, right? And the head of the pharmacy board happens to be in the pharmacy you go in, and one of them sticking out your waist. I don't know what that is working on, because I know people who have their firearm, your pistol or whatsoever you call that, and you walk around with that to safeguard yourself and your family. Or a partner of mine used to have one in the car all the time. That real different from walking around with an assault rifle to me. So I mean, I agree with Stephen Williams 100% that, I mean, I find 2 is too much. Like, somebody had to help me understand why you need 2. Maybe there might be specific circumstances where it matter. Or is it that you have one where you could leave home and one that you carry on you? Or one, you know, you have it come like you have a portable, because I have a laptop, a tablet, and a phone. So I just walk everywhere with my phone. So maybe that's my little small gun where I carry with me everywhere. And my tablet is for when I'm home and I don't have to look at that little phone screen. So maybe I have one for when I'm home and I have to protect my house. And my laptop now, that might be my 5.56 play. So maybe come my laptop is when I have serious work to do, like if I have the podcast or I work things or proposal I do it on my laptop. So maybe if you have some serious shooting to do home, you go pull out your 3rd firearm. But I don't understand it, and I don't think it makes much sense. And I think we have to streamline this process fast, because with 5,000 being the ones that are issued, and we have a couple incidents of people shooting themselves in the foot and shooting in the direction of their wife. I think if 50,000 issued, we will just see an increase in those kind of situations. And I doubt we're going to have 50,000 home invasions that people have to protect, or robbery incidents and that kind of thing that people have to protect themselves. So what I suspect that we will see more of is people who put themselves and their loved ones in danger rather than protect themselves, as is the intention of the weapon to do, right? So another one just to keep a look at, and I'm eager to see what what comes out of these mandatory changes that people had to go, because I welcome that where Gary Griffith concerned. Whatever mandatory training people need to do and checks that need to be done, I think we need to increase that at this point in time before all hell break loose. You know, just as I thought I'd done with this topic, I see our next article come out. Sorry, but according to Alexander Bruzol of the Express, Acting Commissioner of Police Gary Griffith is defending the present policy that allows some citizens with a firearm license to own more than one weapon. Speaking at a news conference yesterday at the Police Administration building in Port of Spain, he said that he had taken note of an article in the Sunday Express titled Guns, Guns and More Guns, that's the one I just read from, in which statements were made by former Commissioner of Police Stephen Williams on the issue. Hey, Gary Griffith, like a battle, you know. Quote, I have no intention to go into the gutter and be involved in any cat fight with any individual, even if they were before me as a commissioner of police. I'm not going to Stephen Williams myself. I'm aware that I have made decisions to enforce the law that is in place, and when such decisions are made, they will be criticized, Griffith said. He said that the law provided for qualified persons who apply for an FUL to be outfitted with one and a weapon as necessary. Okay. As such, he found Williams' statements that persons being allowed to legally own more than 3 firearms as raw craziness as unfortunate. Quote again, no commissioner of police, current, future, past, ought to state their personal views on if persons should have firearms or not. I'm still quoting from him. There's a law in place and it would be careless if they did, if not clueless. So any previous commissioner of police who makes such comments needs to realize that it's not their duty or responsibility. The law allows persons to apply for a license, and if they are found eligible, they can get a firearm, Griffith noted. Additionally, Griffith said he found it interesting that Williams would have made such comments when during his tenure, at least 37,000 illegal firearms, oh God, is the pettiness, at least 37,000 illegal firearms were circulating on the streets, representing the cumulative number of firearms seized during Williams' tenure. This, he said, was critical when compared to the fact that out of the estimated 5,000 FULs which had been approved by him, none of the issued weapons had been used for violent crimes, robberies, or murders, or had been stolen via negligent actions of the owners. Quote, I am not saying it may never happen, but I am saying that the reason that out of 5,000 firearms issued at no time questionable, I'm not saying that it may never happen. But what I am saying is the reason that out of 5,000 firearms issued, at no time has questionable activities been recorded. He says it's because of stringent processes we have done to ensure that the right persons get the firearms, so that if it becomes the biggest concern of the previous commissioner, this is a struggle. Who write this? It is because of the stringent processes we have done to ensure that the right persons get the firearm. So if that becomes the biggest concern of the previous commissioner and not the fact that 37,000 illegal firearms were there in your watch, I don't know what to say, Griffith added. So that was my fault with the reading. That was the article. But Griffith, of course, doesn't agree. And, you know, I kind of agree with Gary Griffith here. I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth a little bit. I agree with Stephen Williams that they shouldn't have multiple guns, but Gary Griffith probably right. If the law is that I could apply for 5 guns if I want, how Gary Griffith will stop you from doing that? And maybe that was the grouse a lot of people had when Stephen Williams was there, because when Stephen Williams was there seemed to be two real opposites. Stephen Williams seems to have been dragging his foot to issue licenses. You couldn't get a license at all under Williams. And under Griffith, you seem to have some kind of chance. It's pretty easy. If you apply and you're eligible, you'll get. And he probably right. He following the law. So I'm picking up the fight with the wrong people. The legislators had to make some kind of change where it's concerned to make sure that but I wonder how come, all right, I'm confused now. Because Gary Griffith saying he not making the law, and if firearms are available or you're eligible to get, you have to get. So how come he could change to make it mandatory that you do training? Confused about that. But whatever the thing is, and whoever's supposed to make the changes, I hope the changes are made to make sure that, number one, people have a limited amount of firearms and a justifiable reason that is not sport, why you could have that type of firearm. I don't see what's the justification for that type of firearm and to have so many firearms unless you're planning some kind of war. So whoever responsible for making them changes, I hope all they get on that soon and we could get out of this OK Corral kind of style living, that Yankee style living. What's the amendment name? We need to get away from that as Trinidad. I know crime high and everything, but I don't think that 5 guns is the answer for any individual.
Yeah, man. Come on. Yes. Shut down up in here. Yeah. I don't like how my country looking like right now. No way.
Yeah, tell them.
What? Yeah, the scene get bloody. Every day they're fighting a body. The scene get better. Minister, just solve the matter. The scene get bloody. Every day they're fighting a body. The scene get better. Minister, just solve the matter. We are living in a Western town. Trinidad have too much a gun. Living in a Western town. Every day is innocent blood and run in a Western town. Trinidad have too much a gun now. Living in a Western town. Every day is innocent blood and run. Listen.
Westmoreland,
Too much a gun.
Mocha,
Too much a gun.
Sinclair,
Get too much a gun.
Launch Park have too much a gun.
Man kidnap man now, call a ransom. Some come too late now, body to back wrong.
I wonder where they get this sticks and attitude from. Like the one we let to highlight the dog.
We are living in a Western town. Trinidad have too much a gun. Living in a Western town. Every day is innocent blood and rat.
I say up in the Western town.
Trinidad have too much a gun now. Living in a Western town. Every day is innocent blood and rat. Why? In the night I can't sleep now. Why? Somebody get shoot down now. Why? What the hell is going on? What the going on? What the damn is going on?
Lord, they're shooting themselves in the foot, Lord. Panorama started in 1963, the first recorded tournament, right? That would have been North Stars winning with Mighty Sparrow, Dan is the Man and Ivan, arranged by Anthony Williams. The very next year, North Stars come back and win again with Anthony Williams again arranging Mama This Is Mass by Lord Kitchener. Since then, the man win 19 Panorama. So from 1963 to now, the only 2 years they missed was 1979 because of a boycott. And then 2021, obviously, COVID, right? So think of 19 divided by 58 tournaments, 58 Panorama overall. Kitchener responsible for just about 1/3. Just about 33% of all the Panoramas won. Several different arrangers, you know. It's just Anthony Williams started off, but several men come and win with Kitchener presentations. So I'm going to run through a lot of them quicker. Here how impressive this is, right? Pay attention for me. He win in 67 with 67, played by Cavaliers, arranged by Bobby Mohammed. 68, Hammer Night, he win with the Wrecker, arranged by Earl Rodney. Starlift come and play in 69, The Bull, arranged by Ray Holman. We talked about that last week. 70, Despers come and win with Margie, arranged by Clive Bradley, of course, with Despers. 71, Hammer Nights play Mass. He win with that. That's Earl Rodney again. All Stars in 73, Reno Ramo, arranged by Rudy Wells. 74, Harmonites play Jericho, arranged by Rupert Mark. 75, Hatters play tribute to Winston Spree. Steve Achaiba is the arranger. 76, Despers win with Pan and Harmony by Clive Bradley. 77, Bradley come back again with Crawford and Despers. That's from 1967. The man win all the Panorama. 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, and 77. A full decade where one man's song win every single Panorama. But maybe I shouldn't clap that. Fuad Khan go say without nothing innovative about that, and he didn't really do nothing special, you know what I mean? Nothing unique about what Kitchener do. I don't know. That when I pulled that out, I was like, nah, something had to be wrong. I tell myself I must be looking at the wrong information, you know? And then, of course, he continued to win after that. So 19 out of all the 58 that were played. A matter of fact, in 85, right? I call it 19 because in 1985, Renegades and Despers tie, playing the same song. One, of course, Renegades arranged by Jit Samaru, Pan Night and Day, and Despers were arranged by Beverly Griffith. Same Pan Night and Day. So the two sides play the same song. And both of them earn and win based on that. I mean, it had to be one of the most impressive feats. I like to talk about the fact that Super Blue is the only man win. I mean, in every decade of since he started singing, every decade of road match, he would have won. He win in the 80s, 90s, and between 01 and 10, and between 10 and 20, he win. Super Blue, you're due for one right now. If they ever have back a carnival, look for Super Blue to win the next road match during this decade. Of course, Kitchener dominated the road match for a long time, right? And you saw Super Blue and Marshall would be up there now as well. But there's nobody close to what Kitchener do here. Kitchener win 19, right? 4 is the closest number to him. That was DeFosto, the great DeFosto himself. What used to call himself? I'm getting it wrong, but the great DeFosto himself, the original DeFosto himself, I think is what he used to call himself. He's the man who win the second most after Kitch. So after 19 or 18, if you want to be fair, DeFosto is the next man who win 4, and that is an impressive feat overall, boy. And there have some standout things that when you look at Pan as a whole, that happened, right? So I was saying last week that Despas, of course, my band, my side, they win the most panoramas. And if you want information about this, as I say, check Pan on the net or check When Steel Talks. They have a nice little breakdown of it. But Despas is so far the winners and really edging out Renegades by winning last year. To have 12 Panorama wins. So the breakdown of the top 3 is Despas with 12, Renegades with 11, and All Stars with 10. That's what I was talking about, the impact of All Stars 10. And even some of the ones that All Stars didn't win with, they're just iconic when you look at these songs, and some of them that would play on the radio and thing up to today. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people will back Despas because of that. Right after that, is all the big sides there. Phase 2 has 7. Exodus win 4, Harmonites have 4, Starlift 3, North Stars 2, Cavaliers 2, Silver Stars 2, and then Hatters and Newtones win 1 each. And there are some unique things that happen in the Panorama space that I hope to get some people to come on and talk about it in due time. Maybe should I talk about it now? But there's a song that I want to play that is probably the most iconic song ever played on Pan, and I only using that based on what we play on the radio all the time, right? And I referred to it last week already, where Woman on the Bass is the most recognizable Pan song. I'm afraid Pan people, so I don't like to say too much about Pan people because Pan people is come for you fast when you have wrong information, So anytime I have wrong information, as I always do, I will come back and fix it in the next episode, right? I promise you that. I ain't gonna leave it undone. But when you look at how much that Woman on the Bass, the slow version, what we hear on the radio now for Woman on the Bass is not what they play in Panorama. Yeah? I hope people know that. There's a studio recording of it that was slowed down significantly. The original Woman on the Bass was played with some tempo. And the history behind that song, remember I tell you, it's 79 and 2021 is the only 2 years that they miss. 79 was a year when they would boycott Panorama. The Pan sides had an issue and so on, so there was a boycott. And Despas went and play. Despas decided that they're going ahead and play. And I want you to keep in mind what I was talking about last week in terms of Pan, how it brings foreigners back home and people come. Pan people is what I'm trying to say. So from all over the world, people will come in, whether it's players or people who come to just enjoy the Pan and take in Panorama nights or the finals or whatever it might be. That's a kind of following that no other part of Carnival has that kind of cult following like Pan, where people respect the festival, respect the instruments and players, and they have their favorite side and they back their favorite side regardless. Another part of Pan that make it real iconic, that goes under the radar a little bit, is that you find that people, the diehard Pan people, will still do a Pan crawl and go not just to their favorite Pan yard on the judging nights or on the nights where they're practicing, but they go to several Pan yards to hear, well, let me hear what Invaders coming with. Invaders always have a nice little crowd on Tragedy Road there. Or pass up by Silver Stars. Or go and check out Phase 2 or Despas. Well, Despas, salute to Despas. There we are 12. And we get a whole new Pan yard. And I want to say not more the Pan yard. We get a nice little space. So that's nice. But people go from Pan yard to Pan yard just to hear what the arranger doing or hear the side practice. And there's no other part of Carnival that has that kind of cult-like iconic following. But this song, Woman on the Bass, is what All Stars won with in 1980, the year after that protest. I want you to listen back to the lyrics that Scrunter was singing and hear how much of a story he telling in this song. Because sometimes we take it from we's a real chorus culture, you know. We like a chorus. Everybody know Woman on the Bass. So a lot of these songs I play, everybody know. But a way to take in the lyrical content of the song. Keeping in mind that in 1979 there was a boycott and Despers was the only band to play on this stage. Take it in. Yes? Oh Lord! Yes? Oh gosh! Ay, ay, ay.
I was standing by the grandstand up in the savannah.
Listen good, huh?
Digging this Indian girl, beating bass band, coming up in the squash. With symphony in G, arranged by Clyde Bradley, make the spectators leave the stand and just run out to the band while she plays. The crowd shout and say,
We want the woman on the bass. We want the woman on the bass. We want the woman on the bass.
she beating.
Ay, ay, ay.
Listen to the second verse, right?
You could imagine
Yes?
foot band body there, how people break away. Cause only while I'm hearing what they were hearing, it's only brass and DJ. Doctorate in the air, woman rocking like they care. This Indian girl tie she shot on she belly, beating a sweet sweet melody on the stage. The crowd went rampage.
Yes?
We want the woman on the bass. We want the woman on the bass. We want the woman on the bass.
She beaten. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ay, ay, ay.
My friend,
Yes?
this is one thing I have to mention.
Listen good, huh?
How disappointed were the foreigners after coming down here to hear pan. But the desperados had them on their toes. Took away all the frustration, keep them jumping in the sun. Crowds are too raw.
Yes?
Despers give me more.
We want the woman on the bass. We want the woman on the bass. We want the woman on the bass.
She be done. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
Ay, ay, ay.
Let's go. The control. Pueblo. Hey. Where is your
iconic piece of pan music, at least by what we play on the radio, right? Although give extra number of pan people, but you hear that little piece of keyboard that play in the end. That's what Desper's, All Stars is play in the end of their Woman on the Bass rendition. That Woman on the Bass is about a half hour long when you play that song. But you know who playing that little piece of music there? That's a fellow by the name of Pelham Goddard. You know him? So hear this, right? I'm reading from Pan on the Net. Just a little nugget of information, right? I will leave you with this one. And I also want to play my favorite song about Pan. It wasn't a Panorama winning song, but it's a song that not much people know, but it's easily one of my favorite Kitchener songs, right? But before I get into that, hear the story, right? Suppose I tell you the woman on the bass is a real person. It sounds like it's just a song a man sing, right? But when you listen back to the lyrics, what Scrunter saying is, people come, so when you hear the foreigners break away when they hear Desperados, because people there, and no pan side in playing. You come to hear pan and all you hearing is brass and DJ. You hearing regular bands and you hearing DJ and thing, but you ain't hear no pan, which is where you come to hear. And Despers come and get them a jam. So it break away and the whole place turn into something. So if you notice what he's saying Indian girl beating bass. And everybody focus on this Indian girl beating bass with the shot tie around she belly. Well, the name of that woman on the bass is a lady by the name of Annie Lopez. Fuad Khan go say she ain't do nothing, right? Fuad Khan go say she never accomplished nothing and she ain't do nothing innovative. But from Pan on the Net, if I had to find a way to send you these links, right? Because I can't read through this whole story, but getting all this information from Pan on the Net, right? Where Annie Lopez was playing bass with Swazata Pan side. And it didn't work out for whatsoever reason, right? And she ended up going up to Despers and meeting a fellow by the name of Rudolph Charles, the manager of Despers at the time. And as the article suggests, she was a little uncomfortable playing the bass. So I guess Swazata had issues with her. They say she used to drag the bass or play it in a kind of drawl. And as the article from Pan on the Net says, the only player for whom Charles fashioned a Soca 6 bass because he found she was uncomfortable behind the flat 6. So matter fix, and she playing music up there. So he changed the setup of the bass. He also played to suit her. And then all of a sudden, she's the woman of the bass, immortalized in Calypso. They say since she was small, she was dancing in what would be Better Village at the point in time. And had won a trophy for Best Limbo Dancer at 18 years old. So it's a woman very much in the culture. But if you notice the way the song put together by Scrunter, it was focused on her because people fascinated to see a woman beating bass and carrying on in the way, you know what I mean? She enjoying herself beating bass there. And that become part of what would be, I don't know if to call it folklore or what you call it. But the reality is that woman on the bass is a real person. And it's just one of them tidbits in Pan. And listen, if you lime around Pan people, you hear a million stories about Pan that you would have never thought. So when you hear All Stars winning Woman on the Bass, but when you listen to Woman on the Bass, they're singing about Desperados. That is why, because Desperados was the only Pan side that year. And All Stars pick up that and make that into something icon. I wonder, I always wonder, when you sit down to write a song, so Scrunter would have write a song in 1979 or 1980, right? Delivered in 1980, about what was happening in 1979. You had to wonder, as a songwriter or as a performer, how much you think that men sure that they're making a song that will be talked about in podcasts in 2021 or be one of the most popular songs in the country, whether it's the original song you're listening to or the composition itself. And when you think about it, if I'm not mistaken, Arthur the Koto might be the person who arranged the song. I could be wrong about that. But Pelham is the one playing the keyboard on that song. Again, Pelham responsible for some of his own Panorama. And last week I was playing Engine Room and he was saying, go down Clarence Street, get Pelham Goddard, and then bring back Ken Jones. You remember that? So Pelham Goddard, known as an Engine Room man, but I mean a prolific arranger, producer, the full works, and musician in his own right, because there are lots of songs that Pelham play on. So you see how dominant Kitchener was in Panorama? Pelham might be just as dominant in Road Marcher, because we might have plenty of people winning road marches, and a good few people, well, a handful of people win multiple road marches. Marshall will be one, Kitchener is one, Super Blue is definitely one. He has some people fair and win some show in Winchester. When you go back to the history of Road March and you check out who is the arranger for the songs that was winning Road March, you might be surprised to find out how much of them Pelham got it responsible for himself. So it's a similar kind of dominance that Pelham have in Road March that Kitchener had in Pan. But just a little tidbit of information so that you know. So next time you hear a woman on the bass, remember Annie Lopez, right? And if you want to find out, see who Annie Lopez is, because Pan on the Net has a picture of her. Just go to Pan on the Net, look up Woman on the Bass, and you will find the article written by Dalton Narayan. What is Pan on the Net or When Steel Talks? One of them two look like a collaboration, because I've seen it on Pan on the Net, but it's showing as a When Steel Talks article. So before I get out of here, let me just say this, right? Yesterday was my guy Zachary birthday. Salute to him. That is my guy. That's my partner, my son, my guy, as I say. And salute to Stacy too, because this man is have a birthday party every year. He's 9 years old. He had 9 parties so far. And long time they used to make, like when my birthdays fall on a Wednesday, they used to keep a party on a Saturday. But now, this man mother is make sure that his day is celebrated on the day of his birthday. She don't care if I had to work, I had to do podcasts, I had to do. So I hope all you hear my excuse for why this podcast late built into that. Salute to my guys. Happy birthday. But one thing I was Zachary, he go to know Calypso when he grew up, because in preparing for this episode, I played this song about 200 times for Zachary till I hear him singing along with it. This is not a popular song. Even people who know Calypso, like I want you to play this. It has some people who is some real Calypso aficionados, I want you to play this song, if you are not one, for your Calypso aficionado home, whoever you have, your grandfather, your father, whoever home and they real know Calypso. Do me a favor now, play this song for them. And I want you to tell me if they know this song. Because Zachary is 9 and he know this song now. But it's one of my favorite songs Kitchener ever sing about Pan. I get a little bit of everything in his song. You see, what Kitchener was great at is putting very simple lyrics into a story. And you could see where Scrunter, I don't know if he learned that from Kitchener directly or he just use him as inspiration and take pattern from that. But when you listen to Scrunter songs, Scrunter don't put too much of words in one line. So he first line in his song, he say, I was standing, that's a whole line. And then he say, by the grandstand, that's a line again. Up in the savannah. He just make very simple songs that make it so easy for you to sing along with. And Kitcheners do the same thing all the time. Kitchener say, Audrey, where you get that sugar? Darling, there is nothing sweeter. He did it not complicated, it's very, very simple. So they make songs that either they make it to be timeless or they end up being timeless because they have a nice chorus you could sing along with, but the verse could stick in your head even though you're not even trying to learn the verse. You know them kind of songs? So this song have a little bit of that for me in terms of the lyrical makeup, and he was able to use very, very simple lines to tell a complete story from the beginning to the end of the song. Kitchener again, all that Panorama. So sing along would be a part of why I feel Pan songs become so iconic. Because then the crowd could get behind the song. Crowd might not always be musical experts that could understand all the arrangements and all the changes that the greats like Jet Samaru, Clive Bradley and Pelham and all of them would have done. But they could certainly sing along with a song, and they know the song and they know the familiar parts of the song to them when you hear the whole arrangement. So this song have some of that in it. The lyrics from beginning to end, a story, full story. I had to listen to it, right? It also have some little chord music, simple chords, but boy, just nice to listen to, boy, and some flow. I don't know who put this song together. I wish it was easier to find out who's the arranger or writers or composers for songs, because the way they put together a nice little chord thing for this song, it's ain't complicated, but it's a sweet little song to listen to. So this had a good on now as my favorite Pan song. And I want you to play it for your old Calypso person who know everything about Calypso and know everything about Pan and thing. I want you to play it for them and tell me if they know it.
Mildred met with disaster, shame to tell the mother. Mildred met with disaster, it happened at Panorama. She left the crowd and went somewhere drinking. Well, some panel keep she belonging. She ran home, she eye full of tears, relating the mother of the affairs. She said, Mommy,
I know it ain't right. Don't beat me, mommy.
Oh God, I was feeling tired, darling.
I tried to restrain the captain,
But he won't take me high.
mama lose it. Panorama night.
Mom, this is how he tricked me.
Yes.
He waited
Until I was tipsy,
then he started moving his finger.
like an octopus from my shoulder.
Down and down, the finger start creeping, as though he knew
Where the purse was hiding,
all our struggle,
all our plea,
he
he
still
still won't take no notice of me. She say, mommy, I know it ain't right. Don't beat me, mommy. Oh Lord, I was feeling tired, darling. I tried to restrain the captain, but he won't take me high. Mama lose it, panorama night. Listen verse now, listen verse, listen chord, listen verse.
Mom, I can't believe how it happened. For a start, my purse wasn't open.
Yes,
I
had
had
my legs crossed together,
and holding my
purse in the center.
all at once, something got me frightened.
It was the spider hands of the captain.
Me time I turned
To give him a slap, the purse just vanished out of my lap. She say, mommy, I know it ain't right. Don't beat me, mommy. Oh gosh, I was feeling tired, darling. I tried to restrain the captain, but he won't take me high. Mama lose it, panorama night. Hey, at the beginning of this episode, right? I play a song that Andy could go home and tell his wife, right? So, you see this last verse in this song? I want Andy girlfriend to go home and tell she husband this. Tell your husband the truth, man. Listen.
Mom, if you wouldn't beat me,
Yes?
I will tell the truth of the story.
I was trying to blame the captain,
but it's
not the way how it happened.
I'm the guilty party.
I admit,
Mom, it's me
who
who
told him to take it
He begged so pitifully. I broke down and
and give him as a souvenir. Mommy, I know it ain't right. Don't beat me, mommy. Oh gosh, I was feeling tight.
darling.
I tried to restrain the captain, but he won't take me high. Mama lose it, panorama night. Hey, sweet like sugar, that song. And listen, I could listen to that song 100,000 times. Much to Zachary's chagrin. I mean, he must be fed up here. But until then, I'll talk to you next week. If you learn anything from this episode, learn number one, that try not to shoot yourself in your foot. Make love in private. Stop recording people through louvers. The woman on the base is a real person, and Trinidad is a very real place. I will talk to you all next week. Bye-bye.